I started valuing the wrong things in this business because there was things dangling in front of me. If I get this, I'll be happy. If I do this, I'll be happy.
You lose your damn man card.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. Anything for fear of being hurt, fear of somebody doing something, for wanting to gain something. When you give up that man card right, you lose some spiritual. I've never seen somebody recover from it. That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Get punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man.
I was waking up in the morning and the first thing I was doing is popping pills and smoking a blunt and starting my day.
Terrence?
Something dark is unraveling behind Hollywood's glittering curtain. For years, whispers have followed Diddy about strange parties, unsettling power dynamics, and young artists lured under the promise of fame. But now, those whispers are turning into bold, public declarations. Justin Bieber and Terrence Howard, two men from very different worlds, are finally exposing what they saw firsthand. One was groomed while still a teen, the other approached as a seasoned veteran. Together, they're pulling back the veil on a disturbing pattern of manipulation and exploitation that's haunted the industry for decades. And this time, the silence isn't just broken, it's shattered. Justin Bieber's rise to fame wasn't just fast, it was meteoric. As a teenager, he found himself catapulted from YouTube covers to major record deals, rubbing shoulders with elite celebrities. But behind the bright lights and chart-topping hits was another story, one the public never saw. Bieber wasn't merely a guest in Diddy's world, he was enveloped by it. From private jet rides to mansion visits and exclusive parties, the young star was consistently within Diddy's orbit, long before he was old enough to understand the full implications. To the outside world, it looked like mentorship, but according to Bieber, something always felt off. He now reflects on those years with a sobering clarity, realizing that the environment he was placed in was riddled with questionable boundaries and unspoken expectations. Bieber says he was exposed to adult situations far too young, surrounded by people who operated in shadows, blurring lines between opportunity and exploitation. His revelations aren't coming from a place of revenge or attention seeking. If anything, Bieber has everything to lose and little to gain by speaking out. His willingness to lift the veil on his past interactions with Diddy is drawing serious attention, because if someone as high profile as Bieber is coming forward, it begs the question, how many others never had the platform to do the same? Then comes Terrence Howard, a veteran in the entertainment industry with decades of experience. He isn't a naive newcomer or a young artist chasing validation. He's someone who's navigated the twisted maze of Hollywood politics and power for years, and he has the scars to prove it. When Diddy attempted to bring him into his inner circle, Howard didn't fall for the charm. He sensed something deeper, something dangerous. According to Howard, Diddy's initial approach seemed harmless. There were invitations under the guise of collaboration, offers to help him with acting, to meet and discuss art. But when Howard showed up, what he encountered wasn't mentorship, it was silence. Diddy sat there and watched him. No scripts, no discussions, just observation. Howard immediately knew something wasn't right. It wasn't long before the veil dropped completely. Through an assistant, Diddy extended an invitation for Howard to hang out for the weekend. That's when Howard's own assistant, seeing what was happening, warned him bluntly, "I think he's trying to sleep with you." Howard didn't hesitate. He cut all communication and walked away. And for him, that was the end of the story with Diddy, but only the beginning of a larger realization. Howard's story, while shocking, is not unique. He spoke about producers over the years who have made inappropriate advances, and he didn't mince words about his reaction. He threatened to hit them, to fight back, because for him, there was no negotiation, no room for blurred lines when it came to his manhood and integrity. That, he says, is the problem. Many others didn't know how or weren't able to say no. His appearance on the PBD podcast pulled the curtain back on what it really means to be a man in Hollywood. Howard described the unspoken pressure to conform, to stay silent, to play the game if you wanted to succeed. But he refused. He talked about holding on to what he called his man card as a sacred responsibility, not something you trade for roles or access. Howard didn't just speak broadly about power dynamics. He gave context to the pain behind the glamour. He spoke about men he'd seen fall into addiction and mental health spirals after compromising themselves to stay in the room. He called out the quiet violence of an industry that breaks men from the inside out, one that offers fame in exchange for silence, relevance in exchange for submission. He drew parallels to something far darker, the practice known during slavery as breaking the buck, a horrifying method used to emasculate young enslaved men in front of others, stripping them of their dignity and will. According to Howard, that same spiritual destruction is still happening today, not with whips, but with power plays and manipulative tactics cloaked as opportunity. He explained how these tactics especially prey on young black artists who come from poverty, full of fire and ambition. They arrive in the industry hungry, determined to make it, but then someone tells them they can only succeed if they compromise themselves. If they submit, Howard recalled stories he heard while filming Empire, where up-and-coming rappers were allegedly offered deals only if they performed sexual acts. He mentioned artist P.D. Pablo, who released a controversial track calling out the homosexuality and predation behind the scenes. According to Howard, after that, Pablo was essentially blackballed from the industry. For Howard, this issue is deeply personal. He's walked away from major opportunities because they crossed lines he refused to blur. He's been offered roles that required compromising who he is, and he turned them down. He refuses to play gay roles, refuses to kiss men on screen, not because of hate, but because he believes his manhood is not for sale, on or off screen. This decision has cost him business, cost him roles, and cost him influence, but he wears that loss with pride, because to him, selling out would be the real failure. He's not trying to tear others down, but he's demanding that any challenge to his words be made like a man, to his face, with honesty. Howard has spent a lifetime building a platform based on truth, not scandal, and he wants that same respect back. He warns that the industry is filled with people who hide behind contracts and cloaked offers, who use the shield of mentorship to exploit, but he also says that there's power in resisting, in calling it out, in refusing to be broken. Howard doesn't speak just for himself. He speaks for the ones who couldn't say no, for the young stars who got pulled into something they didn't understand, for the ones who now carry trauma they can't talk about. And Justin Bieber is part of that group. He's been public about his struggles with addiction and mental health, about the dark moments that followed his rise to fame. Howard says it plainly. Those scars don't just appear. They're the byproduct of compromise, of losing pieces of yourself to survive. When Bieber speaks now, it's with the weight of someone who has lived through manipulation and come out the other side. He's still recovering, still finding his voice, but he's no longer afraid to speak. That in itself is powerful. Howard hopes that this growing courage among men in the industry marks a turning point, that silence will no longer be the currency of survival, that more artists will understand they don't have to play along to make it. He says that you know when you walk into a room who's a man and who's just pretending, and the industry is full of the latter, full of people who traded everything for access and now live in regret. Howard urges young men to keep their principles intact, to understand that fame without integrity is a hollow prize, that once you trade your identity, you can never fully reclaim it. He isn't just calling out Diddy, he's exposing an entire system, one that prioritizes power over people, one that uses ambition as bait and shame as a weapon, and he refuses to let it continue unchecked. With Diddy now facing federal trafficking charges and a criminal trial on the horizon, the stories from people like Howard and Bieber have taken on a heavier weight. They aren't isolated anecdotes. They're part of a chilling pattern that can no longer be ignored. Diddy has pleaded not guilty and continues to deny the charges, but the court of public opinion is shifting fast. The more voices come forward, the more undeniable the story becomes. What started as whispers in back rooms and industry circles is now front page news. And while Diddy may have lawyers and power on his side, the truth once spoken has a momentum all its own. Howard's message is clear. Real men don't stay quiet. Real men don't sell themselves for success. And real men don't back down when it matters most. The illusion of untouchable power in Hollywood is crumbling, and the voices once silenced are rising with force. Justin Bieber and Terrence Howard have not only exposed Diddy's alleged actions, but also the toxic system enabling them. Their testimonies cut through fame and facade, revealing painful truths hidden for too long. The industry can no longer pretend this isn't happening. As more men step forward, the cost of silence grows heavier. This isn't just about one man's downfall, it's about reclaiming dignity in an industry that's lost its soul, and the reckoning has only just begun.